everyone, and welcome back to the Damage Report. I was just not going to do any more shows this year since I kept saying that last week was the last, but everyone's like, no, you still have a job you have to do. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to finish out the week. Why not? 2020 has been so good. Let's have a little bit more 2020. But let's at least have it be as good as possible by bringing in Francesca Fiorentini. How's it going, Francesca?
Hey, last Monday of the year?
Last Monday. And
I got a feeling our
Tuesday.
luck's gonna change. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it ever.
No,
but
I wouldn't. Anyway, yeah, I'm ready to be done. I might do New Year's resolutions, which is like the way that I'm most superstitious is that I do still kind of participate in that and either think that they have some sort of special power or want them to have some special power. I think I'm going to participate in that. Are you a New Year's resolution kind of person?
Yeah, but like never go back and read your old ones.
Oh no,
because that's rough.
Oh, no.
You're like right every morning, like, oh God, exercise 3 times a week. Yikes. But John, you believe in like goblins and dragons, and you want those to be real too. Well, you want them to be real.
I do, but that's different than believing it. But anyway, you know what's real? The fact that I'm at home. There was some chaos. It's 2020. Why should I be able to broadcast from the studio? So anyway, there's some temporary chaos that's being fixed or whatever. But our team is awesome. And so we were able to reconfigure everything. And it's like it's April up in here in the Damage Report, broadcasted from home once again. Some new board games in the back. Not everything's the same. But we do have in the building a couple of dogs who, despite my screaming, are sleeping with their heads right next to each other, and it's very adorable, and maybe I'll be able to show them a little bit later on. But what we do have for you is a full hour of news. We're going to be talking about the COVID aid bill, the bombing over the holidays, the Georgia elections, and even more. And then after we're done with the show, Francesca and I are going to be doing our second top 10 list. We did top 10 garbage people 2020 last week. This week, we're going to be doing the top 10 Trump goofs. Just funny, ridiculous things that he did. We're going to try to, they're not all light because it's Trump, but we're going to lighten things up a little bit. And those are going to be available later on today to our YouTube Tier 2 and Tier 3 members. So for those of you who are already members, thank you for supporting the show. For those of you who aren't, you can sign up and you'll get access to this, future, and the past top 10 lists. That said, please hit the like button and let people know that the stream is active. We'll be responding to your comments as we go. And with that, Francesca, you ready to jump into this thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I can see people talking in the YouTube chat saying, got to get the likes up for puppers. That was a thing we used to do, and I'm going to hold you to it, okay? I don't know what number yet. We'll figure it out. Click the like button if you haven't already, if you want to see dogs. There's 2. A certain number of likes gets you 1, but the cuter one, you're going to have to like more.
Oh, good things. Dogs do not understand you. Because that would be...
One is actually gone now. I think she was offended.
She's gone to go powder her nose because she's like, I'm going to be on camera.
One of us should. Lynn Brown, thank you for upgrading your membership to Tier 2. And Tyler Pentecost and Dave Picot's Piece of Pod, welcome to Tier 2. You'll have access to the top 10 list. Okay, now, with that, let's jump into this thing. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We don't have to. Anyway, so let's just do this. So over the holidays, we were waiting to find out, would the Republicans and Donald Trump at least even pretend that they care about all the suffering going on by signing the already relatively mediocre stimulus COVID bill that had been waiting on Trump's desk, apparently. He waited until Sunday. So just yesterday, he did sign the bill. It's a measure that provides $900 billion, sort of, in pandemic aid and funding funds the government through September. So we've already broken down what that number includes and what it doesn't include. You can definitely watch those videos if you want more details. It's not great, and it ain't $900 billion actually going to the people. But bear in mind that just because the bill is bad, that's not the limit to what damage Trump can do. Now, Trump, like a week ago, was saying, no, I'm actually the champion of the people. I don't want $600 checks to people. I want $2,000 checks to people. I want people to no longer suffer. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to play golf, which we'll get to, and then wait for the unemployment enhanced assistance to lapse because he could have signed it earlier and then that wouldn't have happened. He just waited a couple of days. That lapse. So now if you're unemployed, God only knows when you'll get access to that aid. Maybe it'll pick up in a couple of weeks, but maybe it'll take longer. And so now for millions of unemployed Americans at Christmas, you're going to have to wait because Donald Trump was busy. He said he would work tirelessly over Christmas at Mar-a-Lago, and then he went golfing, as you're seeing here. He played golf at least 4 times over the holiday weekend. I don't need to play golf 4 times in my life. He played it in 1 weekend, and he was so busy doing that he couldn't get around to scrawling his seismograph signature onto the bill, and so people got a little bit more screwed over. Francesca, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, this was hours would have made the difference in terms of allowing people who are currently on unemployment to know that they will keep getting checks the next month or not, right? Like he could have signed it on Saturday and it wouldn't have lapsed. But no, he had to golf 4 times. Is he good at golf? Because he's terrible at being the president. He's terrible at being a father. He's terrible at being a husband. He's terrible at being a businessman. He's bankrupted casinos. He's terrible at, let's be real, using his big boy pants, making sure that when he's got to go, he goes in the right spot. So is he good at golf? Apparently he's not. Apparently he also cheats at that, which is super on brand. But yeah, I mean, all of this, I think, we'll get into what it means. But the fact is that Trump has been a fake populist from the beginning. He pretends that he's going to do the right thing for working Americans and then does not, because he has Mitch McConnell's hand so far up his you-know-where that and it moves his mouth, even though Mitch McConnell can't somehow get away with being that charming. Right? So this is the thing where you realize Trump is absolutely a tool of the 1%, of the elites, of the bog in which he himself comes from. Mm-hmm. And if he tries to get more money to the American people, if he tries to get a healthcare plan passed, no, because that's not what he was designed. That's not what he is being used to do.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely fake populist. We're going to see how fake. I mean, the fact that he was so busy golfing that he let the enhanced aid lapse is just amazing. And I was trying to think of exactly the best term for a person who plays golf while other people go hungry. And I think putts is as perfect as can be imagined. I think that's what that term was made for. But anyway, there are other ways that he's being incredibly fake about this. And look, at the end of the day, if setting fire to the negotiations the last minute, if it does lead to the bigger checks, and we're going to get to the possibility of that in a little bit, then that will be a good thing. But we're still not there yet. And we've now been getting more and more evidence that he doesn't really care about that. Here's one thing. He put out a statement saying that he will sign the omnibus and COVID package with a strong message that makes clear to Congress that wasteful items need to be removed. And he sent saying he would send a formal request asking for some of the funds to be removed. So, look, in this particular case, because there are going to be, even after the bill is signed, there's going to be these further, amendments and things like that. It is possible for things to be changed. But it is a very interesting, lazy move for him to wait until last week, when we're on the cusp of the thing being signed, to say that it's an unacceptable level of checks when he could have been getting involved, and to now sign it and say he's going to send a ton of what amounts to line item vetoes on things that have been in the bill that he could have been negotiating over for a while but chose not to. But that's not even the fakest part about this. The fakest part is that he doesn't even really oppose those things. There have been some great compilations put together. Here is one from Phil Mattingly. Put up this graphic. It's not going to make a ton of sense, and the individual details don't necessarily matter. But he specifically cited issues he had with bits of funding that are in many cases almost exactly what his own budget called for. And he's now saying, oh, no, I'm really against all this wasteful spending that I was advocating for. I totally want that out. Either he didn't know that it was in there and he has nothing to do with his own budget, or he's just lying to make it seem as if he's against pork, knowing that it's not going to get voted out, but he can pretend that he was against it even though he was actually advocating for it.
Well, I mean, this is the whole thing with this spending bill and the fact that the omnibus bill and the relief bill have been lumped into one because somehow we can't have a government that operates through the new year. Like we've got to just barely hang on and barely fund basic operations. And maybe, hey, remember the government shutdown? Wow, how buried is that in your memory? So this is not the first time, obviously, that Trump has withheld money to essential workers and people who need it. But yeah, this is all the stuff that he's mad at is stuff that was in his own budget proposal, not the relief bill, but the budget proposal. And somehow we decided, let's give him two incredibly important things to sign off on. And just like a 3-year-old child that he is, he threw a tantrum to show that he can throw a tantrum, to try to get to pretend that he wants to get something better. And we'll see. Yeah, if he somehow miraculously does this, I'll eat my own words. That's fine. I will wear diapers for a week. I'll wear diapers. I will wear diapers if Trump gets us $2,000 stimulus. I swear. Now I won't show it to you, but you could hear it squish. You could. I'll like move around for you. No, but seriously, this. I'm sorry. I want this to happen. It's not going to happen because he cannot move the party at all. He's been unable to do that. They move him. And hey, it turns out that it works out in his favor.
I want to have that debate. So let's launch into that. Let me set this up. So Trump has signed the bill saying that he wants the bigger checks that he's called for. Okay, good. There are other people in government who want that. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responded immediately to the signature saying, great, now we can sign Rashida Tlaib and I's amendment to bring the $600 checks to $2,000. And supposedly House Democrats are planning today to vote on legislation that would provide for $2,000 direct payments. Chuck Schumer is going to be moving to pass the bill in the Senate, which is obviously where the actual issue is. So you've got the Democrats in both the House and the Senate that are on board with this. You have Donald Trump saying that he wants the bigger checks, but that message is undercut by the fact that he already signed the bill without them. So in theory, could he maybe somehow veto it? I don't know, maybe. But like, it's feeling more to me like he just wants people to think he advocated for bigger checks, but isn't actually pushing for it. And as of right now, it is possible that we'll get them, but it ain't a guarantee. It's possible that this was just a ploy to help out the Republicans in Georgia or to help stroke his ego or whatever. I don't know at this point what's going to end up happening in the Senate. There are some Republicans who've been saying that they'll sign on to this. It doesn't seem like a lot of Republican senators are saying that, though.
I mean, I hope they do, right? Obviously, I would never say that I wouldn't hope that giving Americans twice the amount of money that was promised in this measly bill that has holdover money from the initial relief package, like it is it is so inadequate. It is a slap in the face. It really is. And we have to remember that. And absolutely, I support, AOC and Rashida Tlaib, like trying to move this forward. I hope they get more Senate, Republicans on board, and I hope they're forced to face themselves in the mirror when they vote no on this. I just don't hold out any hope that many of them, still have mirrors in their homes, and they're not, on Christmas Eve, on December 24th, House Republicans voted down this bill, right? They voted down this amendment to add money to that stimulus. My brain cannot do the math, but you know what I'm saying.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and so we will see. But yeah, it seems like it was just a last minute temper tantrum. It's almost like the way that a boss tries to take credit for any work that their worker has done, any work that their employee has done by like holding it up, then like putting a little doodle on it or like changing a word here or there on your report and then being like, see, executives, I did this. It's a little bit of that like, game where he wants to feel like he had more of a hand in it when he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's possible. Like things are so bad in terms of the pandemic and the unemployment numbers that it is possible, but it's feeling to me more like it was a ploy, like it was just designed to distract us, to fool us. And it's really I think there have been a lot of things that we have been forced to either learn or things that hopefully we can learn from 2020. But one is that, like, at least on the right, and I would argue to a little bit, in the Democratic Party as well, like Nancy Pelosi has hardly been amazing during this, and, she got reelected and all that, that on the right, they showed that you don't have to even pretend like to care if people live or die, if they keep their jobs, if they're like, think about it. It's not only the worst domestic crisis of our lives, but it was Christmas, and Trump goes off and plays golf like every single day. Mike Pence goes to this like resort in the mountains that looks like it's out of a Frozen movie. Like, and they don't do anything. He waits for the unemployment to lapse. He signs on to it, but says that supposedly he wants bigger checks. Like, that people can't see through this, that his own voters don't think, that they do think that they believe that he actually cares about them after all of this. It's not just a failure of democracy in all the ways that our democracy has failed, but it's a failure of I can't imagine democracy working in a country where they have to do so little to fool people into believing that they have their backs, and people believe that they have their backs.
Yes, absolutely. And look, I know it feels basic at this point, but let's not forget that Trump's male, rich whiteness has gotten him everything in life. And the fact that our former African-American president was not awarded the amount of leeway as this president, someone who arguably wasn't all that amazing, right? Had a lot of shortcomings, but was hounded over the littlest things. Like, this is the last gasp of like, I don't know if it's the last gasp, but it's one of the last gasps of this like insanely wealthy Epstein plane white male privilege that gets to do and grab whatever they want. And here he is, personified in this like half man, half beast creature that, like, I don't know, capitalism and patriarchy created, which is Donald Trump. And you see that in the way that people like comedians like Sarah Cooper can imitate him, and she looks hilarious and ridiculous by doing his voice. Or the way you read out his tweets. It's like, if anyone else tried to do this, they would be tanked, but somehow he gets away with it. And again, like, yes, it's like this weird button of like if we push this button, Republicans know if we push this fake populist button again and again and again, we can win again and again and again. And so it's our jobs to keep on just pointing out this hypocrisy, keep pointing out that he's actually not strong when he says he's strong. I digress, John.
Yeah, I think he's the ultimate example of it, like you're saying. But like Tucker Carlson's viewers think that he's a populist, that he cares about people. He's like a literal heir. He has like 5 mansions with studios in them, and they think, oh no, he has our back. Like, you can be incredibly wealthy and have like these amazing houses, but like, no, totally, like, you still have our back. And people believe Elon Musk is cool. People get fooled into the most amazing, how could you believe these things? But people do. And a lot of it is aspirational. They believe that if I it's just cults. If I line up with this person and if I worship them, I'll get lifted up.
Yes.
Whether it's their tax cuts someday will trickle onto my face, or if it's like Elon Musk is going to tell me when to buy Bitcoin and I'm going to become a billionaire. It's just these crazy aspirational beliefs that don't have any basis in reality.
Yeah. Look at your vitamin cabinet right now. Do you have any supplements that you were sold over the internet? It's a big clue. You might be being lied to.
Okay. We've got a dark story coming up, so we're going to read just a couple of comments beforehand. Thank you to everybody who's already chatted along with us, sent us tweets and super chats, including this first one from Chuck Osecki, who says, TDR cocktail recipe, the Francie Pants. 1 part Frangelico liqueur, fill remainder of glass with whiskey, chug before the new year, enjoy. Damn.
That sounds great.
You lived through that. It might be good. Carson Rodkey says, good morning. I missed the live show on my birthday, the 23rd, but I just wanted to say hi and appreciate you all. Also, I am Docent Dragon. Happy belated birthday. Thank you for watching. Seth Bales got a new job and says, not only is it way better, but now I can actually catch you guys live during the day. Love you guys. Thank you, Seth Bales, and congratulations on the new job. Robert says, hi guys, Francesca wanted Fauci to explain vaccines last time. New York Times has a bunch of how the ex-COVID-19 vaccine works, and Alex Danis has some good videos. Good. I'm glad that they're educating people about that. It's pretty important. Gamers Against Domestic Abuse wants another TYT Hostmates. Obviously, the pandemic has made that a little bit harder, but maybe we can set something up at some point. Retail Alchemist says, yay, I wasn't expecting any live shows this week for some reason. Thanks for bringing at least some sense of normalcy to my routine this morning. Glad to be of service. Franklin Sharpslicer says, what better way to begin a Jan by ending December with John and Fran? I'd rather end and begin anew with the sensible spirits of you. Smarmy, me thinks so. Thank you, Franklin Sharpslicer. I appreciate that. And finally, one more. Ken Clive says, I really hope people finally realize what Trump's true colors are. He talks a big game to get votes, but then gives into his ego and selfish dictatorial ambitions. His approval rating has gone down a little bit since he lost, including amongst independents and Republicans. But in terms of most people getting what he is, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Someday people will pretend that they didn't support him. Maybe that'll be our consolation prize. Anyway, Kara Ijar, welcome to Tier 1 of YouTube membership. And Keys Turner, welcome to Tier 2. Enjoy the top 10 list. Thank you to Aaron the Butcher on Twitch for resubscribing for the 5th month and saying hello, Dragon Squad. Hello, Aaron the Butcher. Pickerbell Pixie says, my New Year's resolution is to steal more stuff from corporations in 2021.
Yes.
Godspeed.
I support that. Reappropriate.
Be careful. Yeah. Okay. Joey John says, you make your base think that you're going to get that $2,000 for him and really try and then blame the Democrats because they won't let you do it. I mean, that's sort of what he's been doing from the beginning. He was saying, like, I want a better deal, but the Democrats won't take it. Like, dude, they're the only ones who agree with you. I really hope that people are seeing through that at least. They've been trying to pass $2,000 for, like, months now at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tails just gifted a bunch, 25 subs over on Twitch. Thank you so much for that, Tails. That's absolutely awesome. It's gifted 290 in the channel. Damn, Tails. Ooh. Thank you. And Trisha, welcome to Tier 1. Now, with that said, let's turn to the darkest news over the holidays. On Christmas morning, Nashville was the site of a horrible explosion that is still being investigated to this day, but gradually over the days since then, we have been learning more and more about what happened, although some are drawing absolutely insane conclusions based on the information that we have. The early Christmas morning explosion, which took place in the city's downtown area, left at least 3 people injured and damaged more than 40 buildings. Investigators have said the RV involved in the Nashville explosion was broadcasting a female voice warning to evacuate with a countdown clock mixed with the song Downtown. And so you can, by the way, you can see a picture of the RV there. So the stuff about the voice and the song, I think there was always going to be mystery to this, like when you don't necessarily know exactly what the motivation was for something, and the person appears, as we're going to get to have died in the explosion. You're going to wonder exactly what caused this person to do this horrible thing. But the voice and the music, I think, made it more of a mystery and has made a lot of speculation spring up immediately around this. And like the fact that there was it's very bizarre. It like immediately as the details were rolling in, the fact that it happened on Christmas, it was very bizarre. Thankfully, the damage to others was limited to injuries. So that is one good thing we have going for us here. Yeah,
that is the creepiest, most Black Mirror thing I've ever heard. The song Downtown while a woman's voice counts down. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's off. I mean, and just to think, like, thank God no one was killed, and thank God that, I mean, and this like awful morbid silver lining to this awful morbid year that we've been having, which is that fewer people are in public places, and so there are fewer mass shootings, and white terrorist extremists have to get their rocks off somewhere else, mostly trolling me online.
Yes. And related to that, there's been a couple of, it's just like accessories to, like, if the dish is terrorism, then depending on whether the meat's white or not, you're going to get a couple of side dishes. The side dishes are headlines that talk about, like, the quiet life of the individual before these explosions. Like, there always has to be this, like, Why is it that like everybody has to pay for PR people except white terrorists? Then they just get it for free. Do they sign up for some sort of public relations insurance in the event of their death? Like there's like a statements put out. But with this, there were these headlines like implying like, oh, just like why? Like we just don't know. Like, no, why do you care? Okay, I'd like a motive, sure, but the psychology, the person could have killed people, did injure people, did do damage. And we do know who the person is, apparently. I always wonder whether even to share the name of individuals like this, but in this particular case, we're going to mention it. The U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Tennessee had a news conference yesterday and says, we've come to the conclusion that Anthony Warner is the bomber. He was present when the bomb went off, and he perished in the bombing. Regrettably, Anthony Warner's middle name starts with the letter Q, and I don't know if that was necessary for the craziest people in America to really pick this up, but they have. And, some people like I mentioned in the pre-show, Lin Wood, who has like 1 million Twitter followers and is very popular on the right, is saying that this person grew up in not the same town as Kyle Rittenhouse, but the same name of the same town in a different state. And so that's suspicious. And they believe that this had something to do with the voter fraud, or maybe the Chinese sent a missile into America, or maybe America bombed with a missile, even though Trump is in charge of the missiles. And so there is literally no evidence that any of that is true. But understand that there are millions of Americans who believe that this horrendous thing that happened on Christmas morning is part of the whole voting thing.
Yeah, dude, the Chinese hate the song Downtown, number one. Everybody knows that. I'm Chinese. Hate it. That's instilled from you at birth. And we love to steal ballots. So I'm putting the pieces together. You?
I can put the actual pieces together. And the actual pieces are that supposedly based on a vehicle identification number from the RV that they found, they tracked down that individual's house. And they had pictures on Google Street View showing the same RV. And so it seems pretty consistent that this individual had this vehicle and then had it blown up. They do say that there's no indications that anyone else was involved in the bombing. And I guess that's a thing where they don't have any evidence that there was, although it does seem a little bit early to be ruling it out as a possibility. Yeah. So we will see if anything like that comes up. But anyway, other than that, there are some details about the bomber that are out there. I'm not going to, unless it seems to indicate what the motive was, I think delving into their past seems weird to me. Yeah. I don't understand the point of that necessarily. I understand some people are just curious, but so anyway, they believe that they had found the person. Thankfully, nobody died, so it's horrific and scary. And there was another vehicle that was apparently playing downtown somewhere, and the police like cordoned off the area, but it turned out that there was no bomb there. And so there's going to be a period that's very scary right now, but so far it seems like this was a weird one-off. Maybe we'll learn more, maybe we won't.
Yeah. No, it's super creepy. And also the fact that I think what you were saying earlier, I mean, we've been through a year where, victims of police violence, victims who've been murdered or, nearly murdered, their past, the victims' pasts have been combed through and rifled through. And if they stole a candy bar when they were 8 years old, that somehow means that they deserve to be gunned down. Like, we live in that country. We live in that moment still somehow where unarmed innocent people, or even armed innocent people, right, who have open carry, who have licenses to carry, but are still like because they're black, they get ripped apart in the media. They get portrayed as being older than they actually were when they died. Trayvon Martin is somehow superhuman, like Spider-Man. He was terrifying. Yeah, that's why he deserved to die. This is the world we live in. And if you're Muslim, forget about it. Oh my God, if you're a Muslim, if you're brown, oh, well, then we know your religion teaches hate, right? No. Well, I want to know, was Mr. Warner, what was his religion? Do we assume he's Christian? But if this were any other person, we would be drawing these links, rightfully or not. And I think I gotta say, I don't think it is right to draw these links based on someone's race, based on all of this. But I think we do know that white men in this country are being radicalized, that we need to look into that. And man, I really hope that under a Biden administration, the FBI is empowered to actually go out and root out some of these extremist groups that fester online, that fester in real life, that, you know, are preparing for Sharia law to this is not a game. It's very scary. So we will see.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to solve the problem necessarily, but you do clearly have a problem when you have a white male act of terrorism, and immediately following it, all of these people who are in real time being radicalized pick that bombing up as evidence that the communist Chinese have taken Biden, and so we need to end democracy. Right. And they're flocking to people like this Lin Wood. Like, yeah, I think we've got a problem with radicalization. And the thing is, like to some extent, it's harder to get people to see how dangerous it is because of how quickly it's been mainstreamed by the right.
Yeah.
That, like, these people are showing up on Fox News, you know, the biggest mainstream media outlet that there is. And so I guess it's just the other party, but this is every bit as crazy as any radical movement that you've seen around the world. And we're going to get to one of the interesting political consequences of this. Why don't we transition to that right now? We're just a few days out from these two runoff elections. They're going to determine in Georgia the state of the Senate going forward. And obviously, you know, a lot of money is being spent. A lot of people are voting, and we're going to get to those numbers. You also have Donald Trump, who's going to be visiting there today to try to boost turnout, make sure as many people vote as possible for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. In the meantime, though, some of Trump's biggest allies and advocates, people like Lin Wood, who is a legitimate crazy person, and there's no reason why in a rational country this person would be mentioned on a news show, but unfortunately, this person has quickly gained almost 900,000 Twitter followers by advocating for Donald Trump's lawsuits opposing the recent election. But it isn't always going in the direction that Trump would necessarily want. Take a look at this recent tweet from Lin Wood. He says, I have received much criticism for demanding that Georgia fix the 11-3 fraud before we vote in 1-5 runoff. In full disclosure, I am not a fan of any of the four candidates in Senate runoff. Communists or China compromised, in my opinion. He means all of them. The Democrats and the Republicans. The communist Chinese have taken all of them because, of course, I just want an honest election, don't you? Attached to that tweet, he has this diagram. We're only going to show you part of it. There's a lot going on here. You can find it if you want. But he shows, like, they believe this Dominion software, which was like nowhere, is designed to steal votes and to pad the Democrats' numbers. And so he has a theory. And the theory is that if nobody on the Republican side goes and votes, if they totally boycott it, the software, which stole a presidential election in his mind, is going to be fooled into deducting more Republican votes than there are. There will be negative Republican votes, and then the fraud will be revealed to all because it'll be so obvious. And I say that because in the graphic he shared, it says the fraud will be so obvious, even though he says the fraud is obvious now. So, like, why would it need to be more obvious? But anyway, he thinks the software is sophisticated enough to steal a presidential election in a way that no judge can detect, and that the DOJ, under Barr, says didn't happen. But it's stupid enough that if you just don't vote as a Republican, it's going to go negative somehow. And I don't even know what that would look like. But he says, here's the most interesting part of this. All that's crazy. All that's crazy. He says we will then get new conservative senators because for some reason, Kemp, the governor of Georgia, as well as the candidates, will be arrested. Because bear in mind, he's not just saying the Democrats have set up this system and stolen everything. He's implying the Republican candidates have stolen it. So he wants all of them to be arrested. And then we get new senators after he succeeds in getting enough people to boycott the vote. This is Trump's guy. This is Trump's buddy who wants Trump to be president. He wants the guys Trump is going to stump for to be arrested.
You know, I gotta say, one of the things I do like about 2020 is the emergence of Lin Wood. Like I love these like weird B movie villains like Lin Wood and Sidney Powell, who you're like, ooh, but very much it is really central casting. It is really like, again, he looks like an uncle impersonating Donald Trump.
Does.
And just like, selling out birthday parties, bro. And then somehow he like winged that into actually being like more legitimized. He got on news outlets and such. But this graphic is incredible because it says the fraud will be so obvious that SCOTUS can then invalidate the presidential election. Like that if you don't vote, the machine will be like, "Buh," and then it'll show, machines are real silly. I've seen The Mandalorian, the droids, you can't trust them. And then it shows it negative, and then SCOTUS going to be like, "Ba-king," and then you're going to arrest the Purdue and Leffler. Like, yeah, first of all, arrest Leffler, but like for insider trading.
Totally. And Purdue for insider trading.
And for Purdue for insider trading. But this, obviously, it is, I'm not sure that he's not a plant, I guess is also what I'm saying. Like in the past, I think he supported Democratic candidates. He's like raised money for Democratic candidates. I don't know if they were like Democratic decoy primary weirdo candidates that sometimes the Republicans do while they're like support some weird Democrat just to like steal votes away, or if he's, an actual plant, because it feels too bizarre to not be a plant.
So bizarre. By the way, yeah, and he, like, we're really focusing on this crazy theory of his, but he's one of those saying that, like, there's something with Q and the bombing in Nashville and stuff like that. But also, really, I want you to realize how the incentives work out there. This person, in, like, 6 weeks, has more reach and more followers than, like, me and Francesca and add a couple people. Like, after years of just doing our job, which is just like trying to like care and cover the news in a serious fashion. You can just, semi-serious. You could just say crazy stuff you can imagine, and you will absolutely explode. And that is how it works. Say crazy, radical, insane things, take off like a rocket.
Yeah, we know that, John.
Like
we know that very well.
Nashville. Exactly.
I'm gonna jump on that Chinese rocket. Look, if this doesn't work out, sorry, bro. I'm going full blown. I'm gonna pretend like I was a plant from the beginning. Obviously, I'll throw TYT under the bus. Just kidding. Never do that. Fam. But yes, first of all, 900. All of these followers, a lot of them are fake. Let's just remember that. I know it's so hard when you go.
They are.
I
don't know that.
There are ways. There are ways to make folks look real when they're actually not real.
Okay.
So I wouldn't get too jelly over there because I see you thirsting over his followers, John.
I am. Anyway, no, not just him. Like it's amazing that I really wish there was more. Like there are people who have like, right-wing podcasts or YouTube shows or like they're on Newsmax that like I've literally never heard of these people. And I can't imagine someone watching their content or listening to content for more than 4 seconds and like massive reach. So something's going on.
Tell them the lies they want to believe. I mean, this is the thing is like, tell people the lies they want to believe. And it comes from the right more often because the right is, I mean, look, there's a reason that the right wins at this, because when you believe in fascism, when you don't believe in the truth, when you just believe in turning everyone into a groveling work 3 jobs, no healthcare benefits, no labor unions, no protections, hey, it turns out it's real easy to unify your message and to just lie to people.
Yeah.
So racism, real easy to regurgitate. I think someone once told me like that Tommy Lahren writes her own stuff. I'm like, yeah, no effing like S word, all the swear words I can. Like, you know how easy it is? I mean, first of all, I don't know where you would come up with that stuff. I don't know what like, sort of like id in a racist id you would have to do, but it's very easy to write like a 13-year-old like racist YouTube rants. You know what I mean? Like in the comments section. They write themselves, you know? But yeah, and this is why it's harder. This is why you got to support this show. This is why you have to, you know, these slow burns, the slow growth. You got to consume a lot of different media and encourage all your Trumpers out there and your, you know, to also like start to expand. Don't just do Newsmax. Do a little bit of OAN. I don't know.
No, that's not helping. Well, maybe, I don't know. Or, oh my God, you know where I went really fast? I went to the Epoch Times website.
Oh God, don't.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. Oh my God. But anyway, sorry, I shouldn't speak badly.
Is it like how many banners did you have to click out of? Were you like close?
Banners. It's more professional looking than OAN or Newsmax. I'll give them that. Anyway, let's get to some of the more important stuff having to do with Georgia. Those Georgia elections are very soon, and you know, a lot of money has obviously flowed into this race because, you know, future of the Senate and all of that. Senator David Perdue raised $68 million between October 15th and the middle of December. Kelly Loeffler raised $64 million during that period, because there's nothing Americans love more than giving someone who's worth $800 million millions of dollars. But that is not as much as the Democrats have raised. Mr. Ossoff became the best funded Senate candidate in history after pulling in $106.7 million. Mr. Warnock, who's challenging Ms. Loeffler, has raised $103.3 million. So that record is pretty tight there. But a lot of money is being raised. A lot more money is being raised for the Democrats. And so, again, all of this is going to come down to mobilization and getting people out there. The Republicans have their biggest voices working to literally get people not to vote. And the Dems are going to try to duplicate the turnout that they had, you know, just a month or so ago.
Buy those Facebook ads. Oh my God, buy Facebook ads. Just put it all into Facebook. Yeah, give it all to Zuck. Sure, he's going to turn it around and like own us and control us one day. But Ossoff and Warnock, you know where your people are. They're on Facebook. Buy them ads.
They are on Facebook. And apparently a lot of people have voted as of a couple of days ago. The most recent information I could find was 3 days ago. 2.1 million people had already voted. Wow. And look, the turnout is going to be lower than the general election. But if it can be close to the general election, that is certainly not going to hurt the Democrats, especially as there's all of these, you know, grifters going around trying to get Republicans not to vote. One other interesting financial note, though, Ms. Loeffler, one of the wealthiest members of the Senate, was the only candidate to give to his or her own campaign, donating $333,000, which sounds like a lot of money. But it's far less than the $23 million of her own money she spent on the general election run. And think about that. Like, you need the money now even more. And she's giving very little. Like, she is worth $800 million, $900 million, and she gave $1/3 for the future of her political career. Does that seem like an investment from a person who really expects or indeed wants to win?
I mean, or a person who is getting you know, a boatload of dark money and, you know, has a bunch of different organizations running ads in her favor, so she doesn't need to. But I will just say this. It is going to be very interesting because there's been a rift in the Republican Party. You've got in Georgia and the nut jobs like from Lin Wood to, you know, Kemp, who's actually been playing a more moderate role in all of this. To the attorney general, right, who, you know, there's been a lot of like a split, right, in terms of, hey, don't follow the Trump line. And, you know, let's not discredit these elections and the vote here. We want to turn out the vote. And the Lin Wood, no, it's all been compromised. And arguably the Trump line, which is it's all been compromised, even though he's supposed to be getting out the vote for Loeffler and Perdue. Again, I don't even think he cares because if he's not in office, what does it matter?
Yeah.
But I do think it'll be interesting if they lose. And man, I really hope they lose. There's a lot of grassroots work being done. But if they lose, how quickly they will turn and say that absolutely there was nothing but fraud. It was fraud top to bottom. They will spread all kinds of conspiracy theories because once again, it's that button. And once it's been pressed, you can't unpress it. In fact, it's sort of your safety, like call a friend, you know, whatever, lifeline, you know. And so Who Wants to Be a Corrupt Millionaire? They already are. But so I'm curious, John, like if one of them loses, what will they say? And actually, even more interestingly, if one of them loses and the other one wins.
Oh my God, that's going to be amazing. Because
right?
then they have to say that it was all fraudulent, but then. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, so here is the biggest issue. And I guess I'm glad that you brought this up because I haven't been thinking about this enough. If the Democrats win, it's gonna be close. It's Georgia.
Yeah.
And it's not a general election. So like I hope that they can win, but if they win, it's gonna be by a point or two, right? Like unless the right is really successful in demobilizing their voters. And I honestly think I love to joke about it, but I think that a lot of these Georgia Republicans still want to have control of the Senate, and they know that the only way that they get there is by winning the election. So, yeah, they're going to challenge this so much. And now we're not going to be talking about challenging in 8 different states where they have to win in like half of them to overturn the overall thing. They're going to be trying to overturn this. And Kemp has already been getting so much pushback, death threats, because he hasn't gone 100% along with what Trump wants. So God only knows Kemp might turn to try to help out these two. It is going to be a massive and very consequential mess.
Yeah. I mean, and I think just progressives, we have to keep focus on 2022 and make sure that I know we want to rest, but we can't. We get like a day and then we got to get back out there and keep on building the squad, building our power, and making sure that we don't, cede any more ground.
Yeah, I agree. Wanted to quickly say, Jason Bourne, thank you for becoming a tier 2 YouTube member. Arlene Jones for becoming 1, and Minimal Chaos for becoming a level 2 as well. Really do appreciate that. And in just a little bit, we're going to be recording our top 10 Trump goofs. Should be a little bit fun. We're going to look back and it's going to be a little bit dark time to time. We're going to try to have a little bit of fun for you. With that, I'm going to read just a couple of comments before we move on to our next big story. Let's see. John Chavez sent in a super chat saying, since Trump pardoned the men responsible for the massacre in Iraq, what are the chances of him pardoning the guy who did the bowling alley shooting? Difference? Oh, yeah. Iraqi lives are less valuable than American lives. I would hope that that's going too far. I know people were like speculating that he's going to pardon Kyle Rittenhouse, but of course, Kyle Rittenhouse is facing state level charges, so that doesn't actually work. Roger Harris sent in a super chat saying, okay, some potential great news, I think in regards to the turnout and the money, or am I just delusional? No, it is good news. It is still Georgia. It's still going to be difficult. Like, just because Biden won by like 1 point doesn't mean that this is a lock for the Democrats. So just bear that in mind. And if they do win, probably gonna be close. Puff sent in a super chat saying, I love you, Fran. Squishy Diaper Man is the entitled white male that Americans have come to be known as, and he's serving us a load from his pants at the end, anything to make him feel important. When did this happen?
Serving a load.
Kazlux says, if Trump had deliberately tried to do the most to tarnish his image still further, could he have done much worse? I don't know what more he could have done. I think that winging it is the most damaging for him. Okay, let's see. Artsy Dragon says, if Congress's pay was reliant on the average citizen's income, we'd have more relief. True. Although a lot of them are independently wealthy and they don't really need their income, they investments and all that. Lori W says, I'd love to claim Atheist Dragon if it's not already taken. I love your show so much. Well, I was going to say no, but then you said you love the show, so it's yours. You can have it. Thank you for the comment. Okay, over on Twitch, Brandon Stotts gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you so much for that. AT Quig sent in a Twitch comment saying, I hope we get the $600 before January 13th. I don't get paid again until the 22nd. Got a bill due on the 13th and got $21 to my name. Yeah. And there's a lot of people like that, and they were golfing and skiing and having a grand old time, knowing that it's really not going to hurt them that much.
With the vaccine, I'm sorry, I don't.
They can do whatever they want now.
I don't mean to make this worse. Anyway.
You can't make it worse because it's as worse as it could be. BB Cakes, thank you for becoming a tier 2 member. Really do appreciate that. Let's see. Hold on. Jess Ortega sent in a tweet saying, Franny, you have got to bring up your gift that the AOC uses. I almost think John would think it's cool too because it's AOC related. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't know what that's about. What's the gift?
Oh, I was gifted. I don't have it with me, but I was gifted AOC's lipstick color.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you tried it out yet?
From Stila. I did last night on the Bitchuation Room podcast, which everyone should watch and or listen to. It's called Beso from Stila, and it's great, John. I'm going to get you a vial. What is it, a vial of lipstick? I think it's a vial. You just shoot it right into your arm, and it comes out on your lips.
A little bit, and then...
No, it's very, very cute.
And it was such red vein is what I want.
That's going to be the next in look. It's hoops and a red vein. Vein. Yeah, it was a very sweet gift, and I think you would look great in it. Can I say
that is, first of all, yes, and definitely. If lipstick is going to become an in thing for men, I'm definitely the guy to make it happen. There's this weird pet peeve I have where the whole like a blank lip, I hate that terminology. I don't hate the doing it. Looks good. Do whatever you want.
Blank lip, just one lip.
But you have two. Like you gotta do both. I don't like it. I don't like it.
How many makeup tutorials are you watching, John, for this to be annoying to you?
And I just watch it, waiting for someone to say that, and then I get mad.
I love a blank lip.
I just don't. No, blank lips. Anyway. Okay, let's see. Leslie Ghost Dragon says the game's background is back. Yay. Last happy Monday. Thank you. I'm glad to be showing off the games again. Few new ones. I think Chronicles of Crime is new. My wife and I just recently started playing Clank Legacy. Really enjoying that fun game. By the way, can I just say, I meant to mention this with the Trump playing golf 4 times during his holiday thing. And I get it. Everybody has hobbies. I get it. And he likes golf more than he likes anything. Definitely his family. Mm-hmm. I like board games. People joke about how much I like board games. I don't play board games as much as he golfs. Like I go a week, 2 weeks sometimes without playing a single one. Like, and I'm not the president. Like he could have uncovered the secrets from World War II or Roswell or whatever. And he's just like, no, I'd rather just golf again. I know that I just golfed the last 3 days. I'm going to golf again. It gets weird at a certain point when a person that powerful with that much access to unlimited information, classified information, is that devoted to their dumb hobby. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I have a question from Twitch. Brooke Marks asked, do you hate when someone refers to it as a pant? I don't think anyone does, but if they did, yes, I would hate it. It's plural. Act like it. Anyway, okay, with that, why don't we move to other news? Okay. We have got just a couple more weeks before some of the sort of go-to Trump personalities that we've had to become accustomed to over the past few years hopefully go away / get hired by CNN. One of them is Kayleigh McEnany. And just in time for her to mostly go away for a little while, Jake Tapper had this to say.
Well, there are some people that are such, they're just so mendacious, I just wouldn't put them on air. Kayleigh McEnany, I never booked her. Jason Miller from the Trump campaign, I would never book him. I mean, these are just people who they just tell lies the way that, most people breathe. And there was no value in that.
Okay, so a lot of people went crazy about this. Like, oh my God, Jake Tapper's saying it's not worth bringing her on. Now, look, in his sort of defense, he says that he hasn't had her on. I don't know for sure that that's true, but let's say that that's true and he hasn't had her on or whatever. Okay, fine. Everybody else is like, yeah, she's a liar. Let's not have her on. It's like, dude, she's going to be gone in a couple weeks as like a representative of don't pat yourself on the back now for weeding out the liars after they've already lost the election. It feels like stolen media valor to imply that now you're going to be fact checking.
Also, she was like on the payroll of CNN as a regular contributor, just touting the exact same Trump line, the exact same thing for years before she was finally the press person. In fact, that probably got her the job as the press secretary for this administration because of how her sycophantry, which is what I'm going to call it, even if it's not a word, it's a word in Kayleigh's brain, all through CNN because they, still have Rick Santorum on the payroll. And they pretend to want to have this both sides BS, which I don't know. I think it's important to have right-wing voices mostly to make fun of them. but they give them so much clout and they really lift them up and they have them so consistently on when they bring nothing to the table, especially when they lie all the time. So anyway, yay, Jake Tapper, I guess. You've also gotten owned by Kellyanne Conway as like a job for the first year of the Trump administration.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because right after that video, he goes on to say, I consider Kellyanne Conway to be a little bit different. She's really more of a filibusterer. She's more of a subject changer. And I think is it Brian Stelter oddly was like, yeah, that's what she is.
Yeah.
And I thought, no. Well, I mean, sure. Yes, she filibusters and she certainly changes the subject. She also blatantly lies. Like maybe not as often as Kayleigh McEnany, maybe, but she's the alternative facts one, isn't she? Yep. She's the collusion delusion like thing. She's the Bowling Green massacre one. What are you talking about? She's not a liar. The fact that she lies is why we know who she is. She could have just been some anonymous Trump aide if she wasn't constantly making news by blatantly insulting our intelligence on a daily basis. So whatever points Jake Tapper, I guess, deserves for supposedly not having Kayleigh McEnany on, he is 100% defending Kellyanne Conway's honesty when she doesn't deserve any of it.
Yeah. Oh, she just deflects. Yeah, that's another way of saying lying. Like she just gives me, other alternative facts. Literally, I mean, that made it's just funny because that kind of like, I don't know what he's trying to do because he already kind of made his name with the word alternative facts. And he was like, look, there's no such thing as alternative facts. Like he already got, I think, kudos to him and deserved valor for that one. But now to toot your own horn about Kayleigh McEnany, like coming out against the Trump administration and any of their stooges like this late into the game is just awards you the slowest clap ever, especially if you're on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, you put down the smallest violin to make the smallest clap, basically, for that. Like, oh, very, very bold to be against them now that they're not going to be in power any longer. And by the way, what I'm hoping is that this is at least forward-looking. Like, maybe sure. Jake Tapper isn't going to be, like, heading up a panel with those individuals in, like, 2 months. Because are you sure that that's not going to happen? Kayleigh McEnany, in 1 year, we're not going to have forgotten who Kayleigh McEnany is. The media is going to, they can't wait to like, especially with the fact that Biden won. What's that? They might rehire her.
I
think so.
I mean, is Jeff Zucker still the head of CNN?
Don't think so. I thought that
he's leaving.
Person, but yeah. I'm not sure. But anyway, with Biden winning, they're going to want to show that they understand the right or whatever by bringing in Trump people. Maybe it won't be her, but I feel like it's almost certainly going to be her. Anyway, I do want to give her response to this because everybody was responding to Jake Tapper, including her. She says, this is a therapy session for a broken network, and Jake Tapper is lazy enough to participate by lobbing baseless personal attacks with zero evidence. Jake's real problem, I do not leak, I do not lie, but I do call out the lies of the media, i.e. CNN Russia collusion hoax. Yeah, she doesn't lie. And it's like this is normally where like the spot in the show where we'd roll like 10 demonstrable lies. No, you already know. You don't need it. We could do it. It'd be fun, but we don't need it. She's a massive liar. She's an insane liar. She defended, him calling COVID Kung flu and like she will debase herself in defending the indefensible. So no, we're not going to engage seriously with that. Her pretending like her feelings have been hurt by Jake Tapper pointing out that the only reason she got the job is because Trump has faith that she will lie shamelessly for him.
Yep.
Anyway. Okay, with that, let's move on to other news really fast. We've known for some time that things are getting really bad when it comes to COVID. And I got a terrible news update for you. With several days still to go in December, December is already the worst month ever in the pandemic. Almost a year on, things are getting worse. NBC News reported that we had, just in December, 65,212 deaths.
Oh my God.
So, far more than a Vietnam War. Closing in on 6 million cases. And we're not done. We've still got 10% of the month still to go. To put that in historic perspective, take a look at this. November had 4.4 million cases, October 1.9, September 1.2. And look, there was a period where it was actually going down. September was better than August. But since then, it has exploded. It is between 4 and 5 times worse it was in terms of cases than just a few months ago when things were already bad. And we've got some other bad updates, but Francesca, what do you think? Is this the dark winter?
It is, absolutely. And I think the fact that we're not freaking out about it as much is both good and bad. I think we need to like gird ourselves for this long winter, and we can't, the panic I don't think is helpful. The caution is, and the demand on this government to do something. And look, Biden is not what progressives wanted in 2021 at all. But man, if we can do one thing in this next year, which is get this virus under control, which is implement some kind of testing, implement some kind of, the vaccine, obviously, and part of that, linked to that, is even more economic relief to Americans so that they can stay home and not go hungry, then it will be a presidency, honestly, in my book, worthy. Like, and I know that's a low bar. I know it feels like a low bar, but really just getting us to the point of like Canada, Germany sometimes, hey, Australia, I'm not even aiming that high, but just some semblance of a federal government, some semblance of a government, y'all, just something. That's how low the bar is now. So yes, obviously the cases are going to be higher. It is winter. People are indoors more. And I shudder to think about how this is going to compound with the flu. And I just hope everyone, stays safe and also really bundles up and takes care of folks in your community who can't.
I agree. Yeah, it's going to interact poorly with the fact that we're already more likely to get, serious illnesses during the winter. We don't even know what's going to end up having happened with Christmas. I will say that, we found out in advance of Thanksgiving that the TSA had cleared more people than before in the pandemic. Well, Christmas was worse. They had more people that were flying. And so maybe we'll be lucky, and for no discernible or understandable reason, this historic level of travel won't result in an explosion of cases, but that's probably not going to happen. And January is probably going to be worse than December. And maybe when Biden gets in, one of his aides is now saying that they are leaning towards using the Defense Production Act to increase the production of vaccines because, and maybe I'm crazy, but it seems to me that we should have already done that. Like, if the government could get more of the vaccine out faster and is just choosing not to, that seems like madness.
Yeah.
Because what? It would infringe on the corporation's rights or something? I tweeted about that, and someone was like, well, it's not the same as building the PPE because it has to be in facilities that have certain standards. Yes, and that needs to be done. And in theory, could have been done in anticipation of the vaccine being created. We could have been working on this for literally months leading up to the vaccines being approved. And by the way, there are other places that make other vaccines that could be turned to the production of this vaccine. Like, we are trying to get people vaccinated as fast as possible to save lives. And the slower we do that, the more people die. So the government not choosing to accelerate production will kill people. It's an open question whether it's thousands or tens of thousands or 100,000 individuals, but many will die because Trump doesn't want to do it and is just choosing not to. And somehow that's not even a scandal. It's not even a big story that we're not choosing to do that. Biden maybe doing it is kind of a story, but not the inverse for some reason that I simply cannot understand.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the thing, though, if we expect to get anything done in a big way in this country, turning, whether it's tackling climate change, whether it's Medicare for all, I think this is a test. And so if we can build the infrastructure, if we can utilize the federal government and show that it actually does help people and it is saving lives, that is a wonderful setup. I think, and I'm sure this scares Republicans because, like, oh my God, if you save lives, then they'll want quality living. They'll want to not live in squalor if you start saving lives. But no, if we build this infrastructure to fight this virus, to take care of our people, to help them out through the long-term effects of this, that is absolutely setting our country up for more success when it comes to healthcare overall, Medicare for all one day, right? Like for really tackling another virus that, hey, man, I can't wait for that permafrost to defreeze and anthrax to go all over the world. Let's not talk about that right now. But all I'm saying is, again, these are somehow baby steps for this country that is so backwards and has been revealed to be so backwards. But we can pull ourselves in the right direction. Hopefully.
I want to throw just two other little facts out there.
Yeah, please.
Because we cover pretty much every day we do updates on the pandemic. And I understand that people get worn down by it. And judging by the views on those videos going back months, nobody cares. But I'm still going to do it because it's kind of important. But I did want to let you know that billionaires in the healthcare space bumped up their wealth by 36.3% between April and July. Apparently, we're making a lot of money. That's $150 billion extra dollars going to just the specific billionaires who make their money in healthcare. So as we need more vaccines and medical equipment and all that, some people are really benefiting from that. So, huzzah for them. At the same time, because the pandemic has gotten so bad in big cities, including the one that I'm broadcasting in right now, here's a comment from a doctor in an LA County public hospital just last week saying, ambulances are circling hospitals for hours trying to find one that has a bed open so they can bring in their critically ill COVID patient gasping for air. The doctor called it the apocalypse and said, we're literally hanging on by a thread. There's no bed to put them in, so they just have to circle around hoping that one will show up, like you're trying to find a parking spot in the mall before the holidays. In America,
which you should be avoiding.
Exactly. You should definitely be doing that. That's the state we're in.
That is where we're at.
And people are still like LA. It's exploding in LA for a few different reasons. I think that we have that faster spreading strain of the virus. It's winter, so we're indoors together or whatever more. But also, like everywhere else in America, you cannot tell me that people aren't taking it. That people are still taking it seriously, or as seriously as they were every month, the months before. I think that people are getting fatigued and people are giving up. And some people think that we've got the vaccine, so they don't have to be serious about it. And so I think people are spreading it to each other.
Yeah. I blame teenagers. I'm just going to go and blame somebody. So teens.
Okay, boomer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh God.
I deserve that. No, it's absolutely right. And yeah, it's really upsetting. And also just the fact that, like, I think about essential workers all the time and the people who have to go to work and do not have paid sick leave. And I've just heard anecdotally stories of people saying that someone in their workplace was sick and that their boss made them go to work anyway. Like this is absolutely a war on working people. This entire COVID, the pandemic response has been a war on working people. Do not get that twisted. Don't let Madonna in a bathtub convince you otherwise. And there will be retribution coming out of this. There will be movements and organizing. Ooh, just you wait. Because man, the ruling class really is operating like the French Revolution never happened. So we will see.
Oh God. Okay, so we're a little bit over. So here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
I've got a surprise for you in just 1 second. After we close the show in just a minute, Francesca and I are going to be recording our top 10 Trump goofs. Should be a lot of fun. That'll be going up later on the YouTube channel for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 members. So if you'd like to see that later on, as well as last week's top 10 Garbage People 2020, you can sign up for that. But before we close out, I do want to show, I did promise, so hold on 1 sec.
This better be the cute one.
Okay, he's complaining a little bit, and he is totally naked. But here's Hilo.
Oh my God.
Hilo has had great holidays. He's got a couple of comfy blankets to sleep on. And while my wife and I left the house, the other dog got a bag of treats down from a cabinet, and they ate the entire thing, including quite a bit of plastic. So he's had a fun time, even if he's been kind of bad.
So cute.
So there's your pup. Why does he look like a hostage? Eric says. That's because he is a hostage. I didn't ask him if he wanted to be on TV. Anyway, okay, with that, thank you to everybody who's watched so far today. We've got an interview we're going to be doing in just a little bit. That'll be going up later on. I believe Adrian Lawrence is going to be joining me tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Finally, Francesca, the Bitchuation room yesterday. What happened?
Oh, thanks so much for shouting it out. We had my good friend and professor of history at Cornell, Tej Nagaraja. We looked back the biggest stories of the year and all the lessons that we can learn from 2020. So definitely listen to the Bitchuation Room podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and also on my YouTube channel at Franny Fio.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. And tune in to the top 10 later on.